When people think of dangerous ski runs, they typically think of steep terrain, moguls, and natural obstacles, but in the majestic peaks of North America, even the most advanced skiers will have a tough time making it down these runs. Today, we'll take you through 10 of North America's hardest ski runs, and break down why exactly each of these runs are not for the everyday skier. Our first stop brings us to Vermont, where the hardest ski run in the whole East Coast is on Mad River Glen Mountain. Paradise on Mad River Glen has some of the most steep terrain in the whole country, combined with massive natural obstacles standing in your way. Arguably the hardest part about this run though is the frozen waterfalls that you have to ski over towards the bottom of the run. This essentially becomes a no-fall zone unless you want to go sliding into some trees that sit below the frozen waterfall. Another major reason why this run is so difficult is because of the extremely variable conditions that Vermont skiing is known for having. Skiing in the east typically comes with more ice than out west, and Paradise at Mad River Glen can definitely be icy, especially given that the run sits along a waterfall. Our next stop brings us out west to Snowbird in Utah, where the Great Scott Run comes in at our 9th hardest ski run in North America. Not only is this run famous for being in the movie Better Off Dead, but the 40-degree pitch and 1,000-foot drop makes this run one of Utah's most dangerous. There's massive boulders that stay exposed, where skiers and riders have to make careful decisions to work around. This run also sits at a spot on the mountain where the wind can blow away a lot of the powder, making for a more hard-packed run down an already extremely steep face. One of the craziest parts of this run is that it sits directly under the tram, making the pressure high to perform for everyone watching you going down some of Utah's steepest terrain. From Utah, next we go to the Cascades, where at Crystal Mountain Resort, the run Brain Damage comes in at our 8th hardest ski run. This run is even steeper than Great Scott, where the pitch sits at a consistent 43 degrees and extends for 800 vertical feet down the mountain. The entrance to this couloir is a no-fall zone where massive boulders and cliffs sit just below you as you are traversing your way towards the run. Once you make it onto Brain Damage, the chute becomes extremely narrow, where it's just about a ski's length wide. This requires you to make a series of jump turns, or just go all out and straight line it. Below the chute, the run widens for some incredible north-facing snow. When temperatures are warm on the mountain and the rest of the ski resort is slushy or baked, snow here on Brain Damage's lower section remains perfect because of the steep north-facing angle the snow sits on. This wouldn't be in North America's hardest ski run video if we didn't include some of the most challenging terrain in Canada, which brings us to our 7th hardest ski run, Delirium Dive in Sunshine Village Ski Resort. This is the first run on the list where the skiers are required to be approved by Ski Patrol before making the hike up to the entrance of Delirium Dive. Skiers are required to have a ski partner, a shovel, and a probe, as avalanches are unfortunately very prevalent on this run. Just getting to this run can be rather dangerous, walking down the metal stairs that sit on top of the extremely steep cliffs. Once you finally have your skis on and find the run, Delirium Dive maxes out at an extremely steep 45 degrees that extends for over 1,500 feet. If you like skiing steep powder, this is the run for you, as the snow sits very well on this steep north-facing angle. There are still many obstacles that are never marked, so skiers need to be sure not to pick up too much speed, even when it may seem safe. Once you make it to the bottom of Delirium Dive, there's a massive section of mostly untouched trees that you make your way through before getting back to the main mountain of Sunshine. For our next most dangerous run, we're stopping into Colorado at Breckenridge's Lake Chutes for our 6th hardest ski run in North America. Lake Chutes are very visible from the Imperial Express chairlift, which is also the highest chairlift in North America. Lake Chutes looks easier than it actually is, which often leads to inexperienced skiers trying out the run, not knowing what they're getting themselves into. That ends up looking like this. If Colorado is having a good snow year, the initial drop into Lake Chutes isn't terrible, but what most skiers aren't expecting is the extremely steep 49-degree pitch that this run maxes out at. A lot of Breckenridge's snow can be pretty windblown because of its extremely high elevation, but Lake Chutes often catches a lot more snow than the rest of the mountain. Next, we're going to the extreme north in Alaska, where at Alyeska Ski Resort, we have our 5th hardest ski run, Christmas Chute. This run is one of the gnarliest inbound ski runs in the whole world, and the steepest run on this list so far. The run sits at a 50-degree pitch and is only open when the conditions are just right. There's massive rocks that line each side of the chute, which stretches for a staggering 1,500 feet. Because of this massive distance the chute stretches, falling here would be extremely dangerous, given there's not much to stop you for 1,500 feet. Because this chute sits at one of North America's America's snowiest ski resorts, where Alyeska averages 643 inches a year, you're very likely to see some insane powder that sits nicely on this chute. Unlike some other runs in this video, the rocks are still generally wide enough to where you won't have to jump turn your whole way down. I definitely wouldn't recommend straight lining it for the whole 1500 feet, however. Next, we go back down to the lower 48 for arguably the most well-known ski run in North America, Corbet's Couloir at Jackson Hole Mountain Resort in Wyoming. The Couloir is easily visible from the aerial tram, or otherwise known as Big Red, that lifts skiers and riders up over 4,000 feet of vertical in just 15 minutes. Corbet's Couloir has an immediate 10 to 20 foot drop depending on the snow conditions for the season. Once skiers make it down this initial drop, they certainly aren't in the clear just yet, as the run remains at a 50-degree pitch where there's often unmarked obstacles, especially on seasons with less snow. Jackson Hole hosts one of the biggest ski competitions in the world called Kings and Queens of Corbet's, where many of the best skiers from around the world come and absolutely send it down this legendary run. Typically, skiers will sidestep their way into the Couloir and then make a series of jump turns after that, but the Kings and Queens of Corbet's will send it off jumps into the Couloir and even ride down the rock wall to its left in some cases. Corbet's can also hold good powder because it's protected by walls on its both left and right. Oh, and don't forget to have one of Jackson Hole's legendary waffles before sending it into the Couloir at Corbet's cabin. Now making our way into the top 3 for North America's truly most dangerous ski runs, we make our way down to Telluride, Colorado for their seniors run off Palmyra Peak. The hike to get to this run might be just as dangerous as the actual ski run itself. Located on the top of Palmyra Peak at 13,320 feet, skiers and riders are required to hike along a very narrow ridgeline. This hike takes about 2 hours, and really only for the first 20 minutes of the hike is on relatively flat ground. Once you reach the top of Palmyra, after 1,400 feet of elevation gain in hiking, the way down seniors run consists of a 52-degree pitch with rocks lining both sides of the run. There's also rocks along the chute, which can provide opportunities for airtime. Seniors run is typically only open for a short duration of the season, given an abundance of snowfall is required to make it down this run at least somewhat safely. At the end of the run, you'll pop out at Black Iron Bowl and can make it back to the chairlifts from here. Now coming in at number 2, we make our way to California at Squaw Valley for their legendary McConkey's run at Eagle Nest. Eagle's Nest at Squaw Valley is essentially just a massive rock that sits on top of the mountain that you can ski down as long as you're an extremely experienced skier. To get to the top of this run, it's just a 15-minute hike from the nearest KT22 chairlift. This pitch is an insane 68 degrees in the steepest section and is essentially too steep to even make jump turns. Most skiers find a way to straight line it, but you'll have to be careful picking up too much speed, as at the bottom, a decent-sized jump awaits. There's a good amount of trees that rest towards the bottom of this run, so you wouldn't want to wipe out on the jump and go crashing into the trees. The center route on this run is actually the world's steepest lift-accessible slope, but that actually doesn't mean it's as hard as the next run, which is often regarded to be the most dangerous ski run in North America. We now finally come back to Colorado at Crested Butte for the steepest human-made run in North America, known as Rambo. This run has a continuous pitch of 55 degrees that is sustained for roughly 300 yards. There's massive moguls and trees throughout the entire run that are impossible to avoid. Your skis or board will likely take a bit of a beating from this run, as there's many rocks, especially towards the top portion of this run. When I was actually skiing this run in 2021, I accidentally dropped one of my poles at the top of the run, and it slid all the way to the bottom of Rambo, making it even more difficult coming down with one pole. Unlike the previous run at Squaw Valley, it'd be almost impossible to straight line it down a section of this run, even towards the bottom, because of the number of trees that stand in your way. After plenty of jump turns though, making it to the bottom and reuniting with my ski pole was truly an awesome feeling. Do you think I missed any runs that should have been on this list? Let me know, and if you're also super passionate about skiing, make sure to give this channel a follow.